Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Episode 210 on deck. I just got to remind everybody that those mics get opened as soon as that opening sequence closes. All right. So, episode number 210 on deck of the Crash Course. Thanks a lot for joining us, for coming to you from the headquarters of FingerLakes1.tv here at the North Park building at Academy Square in beautiful downtown Seneca Falls. Got a fun episode on deck this evening. We've got Jake Sherman and Jeremy Gulley both joining us here in studio, and a very holiday out and festive Brian Tompkins.
Try to get him to
Brian hasn't realized that his camera's way up here.
I did. I looked up. I was like, holy shit, I got a camera on me. Then I saw a picture. And I'm like, Chris is Chris Marquardt. I just don't worry about him anymore.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Your generosity knows no bounds.
I like to think so.
I checked everybody else's cameras. I didn't check my own.
Nobody
So,
wants to see anyways.
well wishes out to Todd Height. We're still recovering from that last round of surgeries. I think he's had like 8 now in the last 16 months. He's had his hand is more or less the back of his hand is now 9-wired to his forearm.
Good
Trying
for
to
him.
get all that to stay in one place. So I hope he's doing well. Had a bunch of birthdays this week, and we're in our final stretch, the final push up to New Year's Eve. The final guest list was turned in today, so we're looking at 104 or so people.
Was I on it?
Depending. Yes. Okay. No. Yes. Yes. I'll check that when I get home. Yeah,
Thanks.
you're on
I
it.
appreciate it.
You were the 5th name, right between Ron McClung and Anthony Wall.
Now, are you still sending the limousine for Mr. Decker, or are you?
He's not coming.
Really?
No, he's coming.
I didn't know if it was the helicopter or the limo this year.
As much as I would like to have either or, nothing's being sent. Nothing.
It's better be there. My wife's already bedazzling him a new jacket.
Oh goodness.
Not really.
So,
Not really, but really. Is she going to bedazzle him some jeans this year? Rhinestone
That's where
jeans
that kind
would
of
be cool.
came from. It was an inside joke coming from out in
Bash.
Yeah, Bash.
A couple years ago.
Blizzard Bash.
apparently, the 10,000 Derby shirts that I have are inappropriate for the party, and my wife's like, "Well, I bought myself a dress. So what do you want to wear?" And I'm like, "Do you want a long sleeve shirt or a short sleeve shirt?"
No.
Whatever you want, dear.
No, you have a shirt to wear.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yes, it is.
You have a shirt to wear.
What do you want me to wear?
The embroidered Crash Course shirt would be just fine.
Is that what you're trying to wear?
Well, I mean, I'm not laying out your clothes like your mom, but I would think that it would.
No, my wife does.
It would take a lot. It would take a lot of the guesswork out of it for you.
All right. Well, if that's what you
I
want
think
me
it
to
would.
wear,
I think it would be, that way it'll go well. It'll pair well with the jeans. You can go untucked, and she can still wear a dress and feel like you're dressed up at least from the shoulders.
Okay. If that's what you want, I'm there to
You
make
don't have the
happy.
exclusive Reckless Abandon polo?
They didn't.
No, that's just him and
didn't.
Josh Decker.
No.
Josh doesn't have one.
Oh,
I've got
that's
a
just
couple.
That was
Yeah.
the one of.
I got a couple.
Yeah, they didn't come. That's small.
Oh, yeah.
Real small.
I'm not important. What can I say?
Actually,
Actually,
first year of I missed the very first year of the banquet years ago. I was running a derby, I think Black Rock or something down that day. So we showed up the second year, never been, whatever. So people say, come on down before I really got to do people that well. And I showed up in like a shirt with freaking tie, and my wife had this nice cocktail dress on, and we walk in, we sit down, and all the guys are coming in their derby sweatshirts and shit. And I'm just looking at her, and my wife's like, "You're such an ass." She goes, "Look at us." I said, "Well,
yeah. Yep.
We had kicked around the idea of possibly doing somehow trying to squeeze a derby in on that day, but it hasn't quite come to fruition. We haven't found the
Like a
grounds to make it
full-size
work.
derby, or
Yeah, like a real derby. Like
Yeah,
have it in
I'd
a
love to
derby.
do-
Holiday in parking lot. Let's do
Have
it.
it. I am sure.
I'd
I
love
am
to do a
sure.
small winter derby on pavement, just a small,
Yeah,
just
so
to
you just
do.
described the Holiday in parking lot.
Yeah,
Throw a little bit
probably
of
doing the early
snow
man,
down, you'd be all
talk
set
about-
to go.
mean, who's going to want to be out doing cleanup when the show's going on? And
It's not me.
Who didn't mute it?
You can't prove nothing.
a little Pantera, not bad.
Not a horrible
Not
song.
bad.
Sorry, it's Waterloo School calling and telling me something's going on.
And YouTube just shut us down because we don't have rights to play Pantera.
Sorry.
Nice. Way to go.
Chris, am I fired?
No.
All right.
No. We got a local recording. We can upload it as many times as they need.
All right, cool.
As many times as it requires. So our topic tonight basically is looking ahead to the spring 2018 and summer 2018 because, I mean, let's face it, we're already
Right there.
knocking on the door of the winter derbies. I saw some photos and stuff were shared at where the Florida Southern Shootout was going to be held. Quite the facility down there. But both Jeremy with Spinning Wheels and Jake now with Road Rage are going to be having early season derbies, and it's going to be busy. You guys are butted right next to each other in the month of June. That pairs pretty nicely with the Steeler Face Racing Derby that's coming up at the end of June. I think that's going to be on the 23rd. That page at this point was taken down briefly, but it is going to be put back up. That does not have anything to do with the future of that show. I actually reached out to Todd to see if he wanted to come on, but he wasn't free. He was still wrestling with a recoil on a snowblower, as I understand it. So that's,
With a bad wrist in hand.
have fun. Have fun.
Nice.
I find it's easier just to pay somebody to do that anymore, or just drive over it. Four-wheel drive.
Yep. I'm saying back over it, right?
I made kids and they want to eat, so that's it. They take care of the driveway. The sidewalk.
Do you make them use a beach shovel? You know, like a little sand shovel when they do the driveway? Or do you at least give them a
That's what they wanted, actually. You know?
Yeah, they asked for it?
Yeah.
They enjoy doing more work?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, you've done something right then.
One will shovel it into the sidewalk, and the other one shovels it out of the sidewalk, and then
That's
it'll
cool.
go through and shovel it back in the sidewalk. So that's how they play. So
All right.
sidewalk gets done.
Well, Jeremy, you had some announcements there with Josh when you guys were all at your meeting, and some more details have since come out about that and where your season's going to go, and you've been contacted by a number of derbies looking to expand. Where do you want your schedule to be? Do you want 40 shows?
I don't want it. I would just assume focus on quality, not quantity.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to add some shows, but we're not gonna chase real far distances. Let's face it, we all still have full-time jobs that we do outside of this, but there's been drivers from Canada and Virginia and Indiana. I mean, it's just not feasible to spread that far out.
Right.
We are going to try to focus on our areas in northern Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania, upstate New York, central New York, and we've actually considered going out into western New York a little bit, We're going to do one of two things. We're either going to force people to step up their shows,
Mm-hmm.
and get their car counts where they need to be, and treat their drivers with respect, and get the payouts where they should be for 2017-18, or we're going to come in and do it for them.
Right.
And that's just the way it's going to be.
So where's the season going to start? Is it once again going to start with
The season will start with Morris at the Spring Fling. We have some stuff we are still working on for that before we announce it.
That's Father's Day weekend, most likely?
It's a Saturday, Father's Day. We're going to have a full schedule, just like we always do. The limited weld, the economy V8s, compact economies, and the full-size trucks and the compact trucks. There are a few rule changes to the economy rules this year that we've felt were necessary to clear up some areas. There's a few things that we're going to announce that probably people aren't going to like so well, but at this point, it's from a safety aspect, I believe. One major thing is we are going to take the passengers out of the full-size trucks.
Yeah.
It's just getting to the point where
Worked out so good for you, Chris, didn't
I loved it.
I really enjoyed it also.
I thought it was
but
fun. I thought it was fun. At least everybody told me I thought it was fun.
The problem we're seeing is guys are coming from other areas that aren't used to running with that passenger, and they're not paying attention to the doors, and we're just gonna, before we have a major incident, we're gonna go ahead and pull the passengers out of them trucks. They're so hard. They're ridiculously hard. I love them because guys can run show after show after show and do minor tweaks to them. But that's going to happen this year. In the light of safety, we're also going to allow guys to skin their driver's doors, however, and that's going to go across the board in classes. So that we are allowed loaded bumpers. We did last year, and we're going to let them guys skin them doors if they feel it's necessary. We've seen some doors get opened up pretty good last year. I don't want to make it to the point where guys don't care about not hitting the doors. I don't want to let them put half-inch plate on the outside. So guys like, well, shit, he's got a half-inch plate. I don't care if I blast him. We don't want that. But if a guy wants to do an 1/8-inch plate or an 1/8-inch skin, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, that pillar's still there, no matter how much plate you put
in.
in.
Right. There's two other rule changes that I'd like to discuss and just kind of throw out there. One is the rear end. Last year we just basically said no braced rear. However, guys are trying to push that, and we've adapted a rule from last year that was put out there. Nothing can be welded to the rear end at all. Nothing. It's got to be a 100% stock rear. As far as the tubes go, and nothing welded to the outside. The other thing we're going to allow, and I believe it's we've taken into consideration some of the other stock shows in the area. I believe Jake's allowing a pulley protector, so we've kind of come in line with their rules. We're going to allow the pulley protector with some measurements, of course. You can't be any further than a 1/2 inch out in front of the pulley, and the front part of the pulley protector can be no higher than half of the pulley. That's basically going to allow guys to use that pulley protector as a pulley protector instead of as...
That's a terrible rule. How are you going to tie it into the bottom of the core support?
Well, the thing of it is, though, if you have the pulley protector, you're not allowed a sway bar.
Oh, okay.
You got to completely remove the sway bar. That doesn't mean cut it at the rails. That means completely remove it. So we're giving them a choice. You can have the sway bar or the pulley protector, one or the other. We do know that some of the guys are running a little higher dollar motors in our economy class, and so those guys don't start snapping crank bolts and ruining cranks. We figured, everybody drives forward anymore. Nobody builds a car to drive backwards.
And I've seen a couple pulleys come apart.
So
in the last couple of years,
we're gonna step in line. And like I said, I believe Jake's going to allow the pulley protectors as well.
Yes.
So we're going to kind of come in line with his rules. Being that we're only a couple weeks apart, we want to, throw cars back together and share cars between the shows.
How much collaboration do you guys put into that? I mean, do you guys talk about trying to align things more closely? Was there any conversation there?
Oh yeah.
This is the first. This is a 3-year operation that's finally come to fruition for Road Rage. You guys have been trying to get everything together the right way to appropriately do a show so that you're ready. And I've got the opportunity that first weekend in June down at the Broome County Fairgrounds.
Well, that's it. I mean, like I said before, I didn't want to do another standalone show and water down which the field of shows that are in the area, because there's a lot of shows now.
The season's much longer than it used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be, Brian remembers way back when the season started in July and ended in August, and that was that.
Yep.
I mean, it started the second week of July for us around here, and it wrapped up with Labor Day.
Yep.
At the State Fair.
Pretty much.
That was it. Now
once in a while, out of rarity, we'd have a show after one of the races, local Canandaigua Weed Sport. But other than that, I mean, our hometown fair was, our hometown fair was the second or third week in July, and Canandaigua, Cayuga County Fair and Ontario were somewhere in the same vicinity, and really that was about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't,
Yeah, it was Seneca County, Yates County, Ontario County.
I never went to Yates County.
Yes, you did.
Once. Back then, I didn't go to Yates County. I would never go back.
That's it. It used to be. I can't really remember, going back. Been driving on 25, 26 years, but I can't remember really even June shows.
No.
Back in like the late '90s, early 2000s. It pretty much was July and August,
Yep.
cutting a little bit into September
Yep.
with Brookfield and a few other shows, but I just didn't want to water it down. And
makes
so
sense.
I kind of was, I kind of wait my time and wait for my opportunity to present itself, and luckily that happened. With Coos says we're going to take 2018 off, and I was just in the right place in the right time, and they afforded me the good opportunity to give it a shot, and So we'll see what happens. But when I wanted to do the rules, I've been driving for years, just like everybody else. Nothing sucks worse than going to a show, get hung up, or something stupid happens, and then now you got a car that you can't run at a different show, or you got to cut it all up or add to, because when you rear engineer a car, you could have made it, if you could have built it right the first time instead of cobbing it back together for a different show to be competitive.
I mean, the way that you build a car for a particular set of rules, when you have a car like what you just described, if you have something dumb happen and you have to add something to it, it's not going to be right. And especially if you have to start cutting stuff away, now everything is so purpose built and focus created that it causes some havoc. You could essentially waste a car inadvertently.
That's it. And I liked the rule set that was already out there. I tweaked a little bit, and had an opportunity to talk with Jeremy quite a bit at the cruise-ins and stuff that we do, Facebook messages and that kind of thing. And I wanted to make sure, especially with his shows just 2 weeks after mine, that anybody that took a car to mine could also take a car to his, or take the same car, especially like with the truck class. And I talked to him before I did. The truck rules are copy and pasted directly from his website.
Yeah.
The rules are exactly word for word. The only thing I changed was 5 gallon to a 10 gallon, just because I knew a couple guys that might want to run alcohol. But that was about for the fuel tank. That's about the only thing.
Jeremy, do you have a provision? It's 5 gallons of fuel, period, whether you're running alcohol, methanol, whatever.
It's in the rules, 5 gallons, because that's what the insurance company says I have to have in the rules.
Okay, all right. That's good.
That's one of those that it's about 5 gallons.
Yeah.
There's definitely 5 gallons there.
Yep.
Yep. You don't have to put a screw in the tank.
No, there'll be no holes made.
No holes drilled in with a tin screw.
We have enough
a screw in the tank. Yeah.
No, we have enough trouble with that as it is. So
now, Jeremy, somewhere in the Derby hearsay around the schoolyard, I heard that in one of your classes, going to be able to run square tubing as a front bumper.
You can run square tubing, but basically the way the rule reads is you can run a loaded front bumper, factory front, factory back. So if you choose to run a pre-73 bumper, which doesn't have a back, or there is a newer bumper, a Diplomat bumper that doesn't have a back, you can run a 5x5 3/16 thick piece of square tubing and just put the skin over the top of it. I don't really want the appearance of a piece of box tubing hanging off the front. I still want it to look like a bumper.
Okay.
But bumpers are getting expensive.
Yeah.
And
no kidding.
I happen to I got to kind of bust on Mad Mike a little bit. I bought a loaded 74 bumper that he's run 75 times, and I'll never bend it. Well, I ran it once and broke it. So, either Mike's not running hard enough, or the PA pace isn't quite what the New York pace is. But
I'm pretty sure I was at that show when that bumper got broke.
We still want guys to be able to, listen. You got to use your head, because you throw a 300-400 pound bumper on the front of an economy V8, you probably ain't gonna fare so well.
Yeah.
So you still got to use your head, but we're giving a little bit lesser bumpers. Now you can make a Crown Vic bumper, which might cost you $80 to $100, or if you can find one at a pull-it yard, $35.
Yeah.
You're making a little more competitive bumper. And if you're smart with the aluminum-backed bumpers, you can mount them to the frame rails in such a way that it's still compliant with the rules, and you can now get those bumpers extremely cheap because nobody wants them.
Yep. I was, like I said, I honestly, I don't even. It might have been at the year-end derby at Paradise that I went to. Somebody was talking about it for next year already. I can't remember where else I'd heard it, but there was somebody was talking about the run those, and I wasn't sure, and I hadn't asked you about it. But I figured tonight would be a good night, but that's cool. Yeah, I agree with what you said.
What were they asking again? Just to be clear,
it was just somewhere along the lines to where you could use the square tubing as a bumper. I hadn't heard anything of it, and I talked to Jeremy pretty regularly, and I just kept forgetting to ask him about it. And I figured tonight would be I remembered it because we were talking about
Well,
bumpers.
the reason we're going with that instead, without a factory back is because then they're not doubling it up. In the 3/16, it's not a, it's fairly inexpensive. It's going to give a little bit, but it still maintains, kind of.
And that's the thing. I mean, like you said on the economy cars, I mean, you really, in my humble opinion, I haven't done a lot of building, but
And you still drive backwards.
No, I don't. No. If you ask my kid, you put the taillights back in my car. But that's the thing is, I mean, for something like that, in my humble opinion, you can't put a heavy bumper on the front of it because it's gonna bend the front end all sorts of. I mean, that's
gonna make it look ugly.
Yeah, Monaco's. I've seen two or three cherry Monaco's, and with just a stock bumper on it, they'll bend the horns down at the front of a Mopar. It's the only one I've ever seen it happen was on Monaco's. So I've never been a big fan of the building the super bumpers unless you're running Blizzard Bash. But obviously we're not doing that around here too often. But
yeah, that's it. You don't got to go all the way either. I mean, you don't have to.
A couple well-placed gussets in a Seville bumper.
Yep.
Not that I would ever do such things, but they might help you.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. I mean, because the car that I bought from Jeremy last year, my original
package Seville.
My original intention was to take that to one of his shows, and I just had shitty luck doing that. But I took the skin off it, and I was looking inside it, and that's what I wasn't thinking of filling it. I was just thinking of putting some angle. Kind of like, because I'd seen Brodzinski, the one when he built the first 74. I saw some pictures of that, and how he had it all together. And I'm like, you could really, that Mopar bumper
before it was capped.
Yeah, before it was capped. It was pretty neat.
There was a lot of talk about that.
Yeah. We talked quite a bit at Blizzard Bash last year. You probably don't remember. You were signing autographs, but I was talking with him about the new bumper. So, and he was explaining a lot of things to me because his mind is just pretty incredible. But he was explaining what he does the bumpers and this and that, and that's I was looking at that, and that's kind of what I was thinking of doing was just a couple well-placed gussets in there and going from there. But
or you could just do what Sean Gokenauer does.
Yeah, no.
On the economy cars, I mean, you don't. Sometimes more isn't always better, But but leave that up to the drivers. They can make the choice.
It's going to take a few years, for guys to figure out what works and what don't. Unfortunately, we're going back to a trial and error period a little bit, adjusting to a new rule set and adjusting to new, bumper requirements. And
I probably spend more on bumpers in a year than any other part,
absolutely,
in particular, or anything.
Absolutely, I don't get more than one run out of them anymore.
I wonder why.
Can't say.
But in the same aspect is that's one change that I put in the rules too. We could go back and forth. I don't care if it's a bone stock car or what it is. Any car that's going to run in my show is going to be allowed obviously a cage, and you can skin the door. Just because once you start getting into the bumpers and depending on how they're built, they can start tearing open some sheet metal here and there. So
now, what if for the skinning of the door you mentioned? What if somebody wanted to take and run steel like from the inside of their door bar down to the floor? Because I've seen guys do that before. Are you all right with that, or would you rather have it on the outside?
Not the way my rule set is reads. It's going to be on the outside.
Okay.
I'm okay with it on the inside or the outside, but either way, I don't want it welded to the rockers.
Makes sense.
You weld it up to the vertical.
Makes sense.
But I don't want any down legs to the rockers. I don't want any,
Could you lay it? Could you lay your inner door skin and outer door skin in on top of each other to open up that window, and then tack all that together, and then run?
Why would you do that much work though?
Why not?
Why would you?
It's going to give me
a derby driver's not going to do any more work than necessary, and if it doesn't give them an unfair
advantage,
that is not
true. Oh my God, that is
if it
not
doesn't
true
give
at
them
all.
an unfair advantage, they're not going to do it.
Well,
that's true.
Right, that might be fair.
But that that's one thing that we seen over the years. Going to Blizzard Bashes. They started with the super skins on the outside, and now they've worked to where they have the stuff inside too. And that's one thing I've seen out there that I really like as far as driver safety. I mean, driver safety is a little bit what they're thinking, but obviously they wanted to keep the floors from bending. But I like that because you see it. I mean, I don't know how many derbies a year. You always see somebody gets into it. They'll catch a driver's door with a corner of the bumper, and man, it just opens that up.
Can't
And we've all seen it, and we've had
But
all
you
had
remember
those
seeing the
calls.
doors that had the window channel capped with diamond plate, and the door skin starts on the top of the door bar inside, and it's formed to the inner side of the door skin over underneath the door strap that's on top, and then all the way
The
back
thing
down.
that
And I know we're not talking about. I mean, we're not talking apples to apples here. We're not talking
Yeah,
about Blizzard
that's
Dash
it.
to
That's
Blizzard
that's
Dash
the
to
thing
Spring
of-
Fling. But I still see if somebody can find a way to manipulate that and work those angles to put a little bit more forward on the fender or something, they do it.
That's it.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the thing that I see that we're talking
Or on the inside, go up on the firewall.
kind of out west and out here. Out west, you'll see a lot more driver's door hits,
Oh yeah,
and it's never called
no.
because they don't care. They don't care as much. They don't pay attention to it as much.
Yeah.
And I don't want guys start blasting the doors.
I agree
don't
completely.
So I don't want to give that much to the driver's door safety as much as I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Yep.
I don't want to make it to the point where guys like, well, he's got a half-inch plate skinned on the outside of the door. I'm just going to blast him because that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Don't let that be a reason for driving quality to go down.
Right.
That's one thing that I've seen as we've started to travel more is that guys they will just tee off on a door. And the official, right in front of the official, and nothing said. And I'm just like, well, they got the doors built like that. I'm like, no, that's not the. I don't know. It's frustrating. I mean, like I've made.
I don't
comments,
like seeing it.
Yeah, I've made comments on different live streams and stuff that we've done numerous times. It just, sooner or later somebody's going to get hurt.
Don't let that be a blanket statement though, because a lot of times when they do get those, more often than not, you see the guy put the hands up. I think there's a higher percentage that it might sound like that they're still putting the hands up afterwards.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of them where guys just.
If you're using it as a stop sign, that's one thing. A little tattoo here and there might make you stop that, but I don't know. I don't want to see guys getting tracked in the doors.
No, absolutely not.
That's how Jake won 3 derbies in one night with one car.
Jake won 3 derbies in one night because he got good limp mode.
That was one car. I do believe I got a Mad Dog out of that third heat, I think it was. Yeah, it was interesting. That was an interesting night.
That was pretty cool. All right.
So what's up now, Chris Marquardt?
Quick.
Got to pay some bills.
Everything came to an odd timed grinding halt there, so we'll just jump in and use that to transition into. We referenced it a bit ago. Florida Southern National Showdown coming up on the 10th of February next year. 2-man team demolition derby. 20 teams from all over the nation are going to be in competition. The entry list is absolutely stacked. It's just a fantastic entry list. We're going to be talking to those guys a little bit more once we get past the first of the year. Hernando County Fairgrounds is the home of it. 6436 Broad Street, Brooksville, Florida. Tickets are on sale now. HernandoFairgrounds.com. On the same day, you got your choice. You can be down in sunny Florida, or you can be up at the awesome Napa Winter Slam show up on the frozen lakes of St. Peter, Minnesota. Full-size weld class. They don't allow the wagons there. 35 cars max, and it's supposed to be fresh cars only. $2,000 to win, $1,350, $750 through the top 3, $500, $300 through the top 5, paying the top 10 in all 4 of those one-and-dones through the course of the day. 80s chain class, 35 cars max, $1,000 to win, $750, $400, $300, $200 through the top 5. Again, they're paying back through the top 10. Light build trucks, 35 trucks max there, $1,000 to win, $600, $300 back through the top 3, paying through 10th. Compact, 108 inches and under, 35 cars max as well. Each class has a heavy hitter award, $300, and one of those badass trophies from Terry Evans. Best paint, $100 in a plaque. Longest tow gets $100. Second longest gets $75. Best Western Mankato has rooms available, $99 for a double, $109 for poolside, 507-625-9333. Make sure you tell them that you are with the Winter Derby group. Contact Randy Maslowski for logistics, 507-327-1944, or Jeremy Ertman for rules and build questions, 507-525-4290. Again, that derby is full. May Mania coming up in May 2018, May 18th and 19th. They're following the same format as Heber City. We're looking for more details after the first year. We'll be getting Johnny Gulley on the show to be talking a little bit more about this one in Salt Lake City. What a fantastic facility that was. And I'm sure they're going to be inching closer and closer to getting that facility packed. You can have 5,000 people there, and it looks thin. And it's at that point 5,000. It's only half full, so there's plenty of room to bring you and a bunch of your best friends out to May Mania 2018. And Stern Dirt Racing also wants to extend a big thank you to all the drivers, supporters, and partners, and especially the fans that helped make the 2017 season a successful year. For Stern Dirt Racing online for more details, SternDirtRacing.com. Oh, Brian, man, that was almost cut to you right in the middle of the manicure that you were doing over there. That could have been tough.
Sorry, bud.
Almost got you. Sorry, that would have been horrible. Good thing we didn't bring that up on air. Otherwise, that would have been embarrassing.
Did you see the rundown for Capital City Carnage? I believe there's 7 spots left in Limited Weld, 9 in.
When I talked to Tim the other day, for all intents and purposes, it was full. I mean, there's a couple.
I saw a thing on
spots.
Facebook today. There's a few. I think Modified has the most spots left. So
Usually does. I mean, that's not new.
So whoever's got Blizzard Bash stuff left that can be pieced together, come on, bring them. I think Team America ought to take their cars out there and run that heat. 4 on everybody. Just let them eat.
They probably could.
Yeah. Just let them eat.
If they really wanted to. That was a lot of fun to watch that. Reference being made to Capital City Carnage at the Kansas Expo Center, Topeka, Kansas. March the 15th is the heat draws, 7 to 10 o'clock. That's got the pit party, that whole deal. That was the first show that Smash It Derbies is going to be in full command of Capital City Carnage. March 16th is heats 1 through 10. It's going to give us 20 qualifiers, top 2 advance, 7 o'clock start time for that. Saturday the 17th is a doubleheader, limited weld consolations, 1 through 5 of the top 2 advancing. That's giving us another 10. Assuming that everything's going to be full, so that puts 30 cars on the track. And with the way the heats were at Blizzard Bash, they've obviously figured something out with the track, and it was holding together well. I don't think that we're going to see all 30 cars coming out for that main event, especially if the ones have to go through consolation rounds. $2,500 to win for the compact feature. That's part of that 10 o'clock program. 7 o'clock program includes the 2-man extreme feature, $2,500 to win, the modified feature for $2,500. Those are both one and dones. And the limited weld finale paying $10,000 to win, $5,000 Mad Dog as well. All those rosters and additional entry forms can be found online, www.capitalcitycarnage.com. And that show pairs quite nicely with another one in May, Bash for Cash at the Ross County Fairgrounds in Chillicothe, Ohio. It's going to be Memorial Day weekend. The near at Big Rock, $11,000 to win kicker class. It's got new iron and old iron permitted. In that one, there's an old iron bonus, an extra $3,000 to win if an old iron vehicle wins it, or an extra $1,500 goes to the share of the highest placing old iron if it's won by a metric. The derbytees.com turn back the clock class. They've got the metric bonus there. If a metric wins that class, it's $3,000 extra bucks in their pocket, or the highest placing metric. If the event's won by an old iron, they get $1,500. $10,000 to win DEC headers compact class, the Frank the Tank old school wire class, full size trucks, youth compact trucks. They have openings. It's $75 to enter their 80s wire classes, all of them, and the street stocks. They're full. Smash It Demolition Derbies has more details online, www.smashitderby.com. And so, wow, we did them all. That's all of them. We got through them all. Nice segueing, Brian.
Thanks, man.
That was crackerjack.
I've tried to learn from you over the years. I'm not sure what, but I've tried to learn something.
Completely lost on what you tried to be picking up. As Josh continues to tell me, you're a dumb kid from New York and nobody wants to listen to you.
Is that me or you?
Me.
Okay.
He says it to me. He doesn't even talk to you.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But, Jeremy, I know the schedule isn't limited just to Father's Day weekend with the Spring Fling. You've got more trips back to Morris planned through the course of the year.
Yeah, we're going to be back at the fair, I'm assuming. They haven't put that in paper yet, but we're going to be back to the fair, and it's going to be another loaded weekend. Honesdale has asked us to come back for a second night this year, so we're doing Morris.
And it was GDS. You had two nights at GDS last year.
Yeah, but that was later. That was later in September, August, September. Now we are going to be in Morris Thursday night, Honesdale Friday night, Morris Sunday, back to Honesdale the following Saturday. So we got, and of course they're 3.5 hours apart, but we're going to do, for the first night at Honesdale, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about our 2-man team show, because the registration is going to open tonight at 7 o'clock, which should be the end of the podcast.
7 o'clock Eastern.
We gave guys a week to get their stuff in order. We're doing a V8 and an economy compact team show, 2-man teams. One person registers on the at 7 o'clock. It's going to open. One guy goes and registers. We're going to call him the captain of the team.
Sure.
He owns that spot. Either he sponsors that spot, he owns that spot. It's non-refundable, non-transferable. So they own the spot. Just follow the links, which pay attention to Spinning Wheels Facebook page, will probably be the first place it's posted. Then I'm sure it'll be shared to Northeast.
It won't take long.
It won't take long. And we're limiting this year to 12 teams per class. The reasoning is because it is a Friday night, and we're going to run. I'm going to screw this up. We're going to run heats. I can't remember if it's 3 heats of 4 or 4 heats of 3.
Right.
And then we're going to take.
If I can jump in, it would be better to run 3 heats of 4.
I can't remember, Chris, how I have it set up.
I think it'd be better.
Logistically, I have it set up so we end up with about an 8-car feature.
Yeah.
I think the site's at 3 or 4.
3 heats of 4, I think, is what it is. On each, we're going to alternate compacts, big cars, compact, big cars.
You go 4 heats of 3. You know that pecking order is going to come into play quick.
Well, we're not
4 on 2 every time.
We're not even going to draw the heats until the drivers' meeting. So you won't know who you're running against until that drivers' meeting.
That's cool.
The first heat, you're not going to have any chance to do any politicking really, because you're going to draw and you're going to get on the track immediately. So, we are waiting. We're looking for a couple sponsors for that show, but right now we're willing to guarantee it's going to be $200 a spot for the teams, $100 a man, and we're going to guarantee $2,000 to win per class, $400 to second, $250 to third. Now, keep in mind, I've had a lot of guys say, "Well, why don't you put up more money? Why don't you put up more money?" Well, right now we're at 120% payback of entry. As sponsorships come in, the money can go up, but it can never go down.
Right.
I'll guarantee. That's what I'm willing to guarantee right now. Is 125% payback, and we're going to give a $200 Mad Dog to the feature, as well. So that'll cover at least your entry fee.
Per class? Is that per class?
Per class. Yeah.
Cool.
Go out there and stand on it, and you can at least get your entry money back.
Sure.
It is going to open at 7.
I've already got it open.
And the team show you're not guaranteed a spot until you're paid. So go in and register, and from your registration, there's going to be a big button that takes you right to payment, PayPal, credit card. We'll do it all. And the only reason I'm doing that is to try to
Brian and Ben and Reliant K's.
Number one, I need to limit it to 12, and we want to know. We want to gauge the interest from what we're hearing online and some PMs and stuff. I think it'll fill. The compact class definitely will fill without a doubt. But the V8s will. I'm pretty comfortable. We're going to run the youth class that night also, and some feedback we got from the youth class is they wanted to pay a little deeper in the class, get the kids, keep them involved. So we're going to run 500 to win the youth class compacts right now. We are working with our insurance company. We may be able to bring full-size V8s to the track in the youth class.
Cool.
And we're going to do 500 to win that, 250 to second, 100 to third, 75 fourth, and $50 to fifth place. And there'll be a sponsorship Mad Dog once we get it and get it. It's a work in progress. We're 5-6 months away from the show, and we've been working on it for 2 months already.
Right.
So it's not something that and it's just a county fair, but it's not something that you just do in 2 weeks.
No,
it takes a little longer than that.
Yeah. Does that round out the season, or are you doing a fall show again too?
We'll San Filippo Smash. That's a given. My partners in crime, Josh Beal, has been doing an absolutely outstanding job with what he's doing to try to raise money. I gave them a huge goal, and if Josh keeps going the way he's going, we'll have our goal banged out before the show even gets here.
Right.
So we've taken on a couple bigger corporate sponsors. We were able to show those big sponsors that we are going to have the people.
Right.
And contrary to popular belief, sponsors, they want to know numbers.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily care. They want to see how many people that they can reach and what their dollar is reaching for. So when the shows start to get bigger, and you can show that you're reaching 3,000 or 4,000 people, then the sponsors are willing to give a little bit more, So with San Filippo Smash growing the last 2 years, it's we've been able to secure some bigger corporate financial sponsorships, and hopes to reach that $50,000 goal.
Sure.
That's incredible.
That's phenomenal.
And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's something I feel I'd never be proved wrong in, is that the Derby family will come together and help each other like no other group. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, we've seen it locally, with Jeremy and with the San Filippo and Team Martin, and obviously But we've seen it all the way across the country, from sea to sea. It's amazing, the way the Derby community comes together and helps each other. I mean, it's
Team Tegan.
Yeah, Team Tegan. Exactly. Holy cow, did we see it there?
He does not have to buy a new shirt until he's 24.
Yeah. I mean, and that was just T-shirts. But, I mean, we sat there for 4 days, and watched people just come up and hand his family money. And, I mean, it was just incredible. I mean, it's so great to see that. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean,
Ron McClung drug an RC car from Canada, gave it to him, and then Brad Witt found out about it, and I don't remember if he got him. I think he got him basically a whole car, turnkey, with the car was painted silver with JYD logos on the sides. Yeah. I mean, Booger's Tegan's favorite driver, so I mean, it was definitely.
And I mean, that's the thing, though. We've talked about it before. The demolition derby community really, it gets a bad rap, and a lot of times it's looked down upon. But I mean, you know what the demolition derby community is the blue collar community of America. And they're the ones that carry it, and they're the ones that take care of each other and take care of everybody else. And I mean, it's proven every time somebody in the community needs a hand, it happens. It's great to see. I mean, you don't see it in other forms of racing or motorsports as much. You don't see it in other sports. It's just
not as widespread. No. I mean, like if you see a 4-cylinder driver that gets hurt at their home track or something along those lines, they pass the helmet, and that might be the last you hear about it. Yeah. And you don't really see, divisions stepping down or stepping up, to help out from other tracks and stuff. You don't see it as widespread, and that is one of the things. I mean, demolition derby is a lot of times its own biggest enemy. You talk about it having a bad rap. It's like the demolition derby community itself will never let anything get too big, which is one of the main reasons why it will probably never end up as mainstream as we want it to be, because everybody takes their shots at anything that's too far out ahead of the pack. But at the end of the day, if we're going to fight with each other, it's after everybody's taken care of. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds you of a family aspect, I'll poke my big brother, but you better not.
Yeah, because, exactly. I was just going to say that.
It's
exactly
the same way it goes, man.
Along the same topic, is local here to our area is the Stilson family. Had some tragedy happen to him last week. People keep them in their minds. And I know he's definitely a hard driver if you watch him on the track. Typically drives compacts, but man, he lays it down, and his family could use some prayers dealing with a tragic event that happened this week.
Yeah, very tragic.
There's some stuff that hit close to home with Candace. I saw that she was sharing a 17-year-old in her home area that was killed in a front end loader accident. It appeared to have rolled over. It was bad news. But I mean, that's going to be one of the things that the community is going to be asked for some help on. Because I mean, what an awful time of year for a tragedy like that to strike.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not like there's a better time, but
yeah, no kidding. But yeah, definitely looking forward. We looking forward to Jake having his first show this year, and Jeremy. And that's the thing, these two guys have they've been in the sport forever, and finally got sick of promoters, just looking to make the buck and not taking care of the drivers. And these are two guys that, decided to step up, and, they're doing what they can to help the drivers. I mean, that's, these are and we've touched on it 100 times, but these are the promoters we got to support. I mean, instead of going to your local fair that wants you to put a check screw in the gas tank to make sure it doesn't have too much fuel, go to these guys.
If you have too much fuel, where's the fuel go once you drill screws through the side of the tank?
I'm guessing on the track.
Yeah.
Waiting to be ignited by a backfire.
Goes on the track? Yeah. Well, as long as it doesn't drain inside the car, right?
Yeah.
I suppose that's...
I actually had a promoter tell me one time that they liked the fires because the crowds did.
What?
Yeah. They liked the fires because the crowds enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And I'm asking, where's the safety in the driver here?
Back to the gladiator.
I don't mind taking a risk with my life if it's going to pay its dividends. Listen, I've been known to do some crazy stuff in my life, but
yes, you have.
If it's going to pay dividends, you want me to go out there and set myself on fire, you're going to pay me more than $150. I'll promise you that.
I've seen you do some pretty wild stuff for the last can of Keystone, so I don't know about that.
I was there when he broke that 74 pallet bumper in half. He'll definitely do some crazy stuff, but I can remember, and it might have even been the same promoter, but I remember being at a derby once, and a car had been dragged off that had a stock tank in it. It was leaking gas, and this guy flipped a match and threw it on the track, and it started chasing it down. And he thought it was like hilarious, and I'm like, what?
That's going to stop where the car does.
Yeah,
just in
what
case
happens
anybody's not clear. That's,
What happens when it gets to the
Yeah,
end?
exactly. I'm like, oh, and he was an official for the promoter. And I'm just like, it was so. I mean, eventually, it didn't go that far, and then somebody put it out. But still, why would you do something like that? It just.
I don't ever want to see anybody get hurt. And
No.
if the crowd wants to see a fire, I'll dump 50 gallons of gas on the track and light it. But as long as there's no cars underneath it,
poor decision.
I don't want that at all.
saying.
I don't ever want to see anybody get hurt.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, we all love, all drive hard, and we all put on, big hits.
Remember that fire in Utah? Josh was one of the first
Oh,
guys there.
Clint.
Yeah.
Clint, Chaston? Is it Clint?
Yeah. Paul Cox's buddy that come out here and drove
But
with us. He had a horrible fire.
No, it wasn't Matt.
Oh, it wasn't Matt?
No, it was Clint, I believe.
Okay.
I want to say his last name is Chaston, but I'm not sure. Anyways, but yeah, it was Clint. I know it was Clint.
He got caught at Maymania
Maymania.
along the wall, and man,
Yep.
he had his bell rung. And Josh got right over there quick, and Ben was down there, and all the officials got there, and Josh said that you could physically feel the heat that had built up in his clothes that fast, and he goes, "Hey, Decker, what are you doing here?"
Yeah, I don't. That's my biggest fear. In all the years I've derbied, that's always been my biggest fear is fire. Always been my biggest fear. That's whatever we can do to keep that.
I've had really good luck.
Yeah.
I've had, really just.
that
I
where
can
your hair
remember
went?
one fire in all these years, and that was just a small.
Yeah, I've
fire up
had
front.
a couple. Chris saw me come out through the window of a Ford Ranger once at a high rate of speed.
That was the
Sometimes the spectators get more nervous than.
Yeah.
Well, and
than
you got to put
do,
that
though.
in. I understand that really, bad things happen from time to time, but when you start seeing these really big fires, I mean, you almost got to put that sometimes on the tech of the show.
Yes.
Because I can know of a few real good fires that I remember happening, which were like plastic gas tanks in the back seat with a hose and a rag sticking out of them.
Well, remember Buell at the first Coos? Something his
tank was leaking.
Yeah.
Stuffed his shirt over top of it.
Crazy.
And we were joking a little bit about the screw
Yep.
and the gas tank rule and the stock tank rule, but that didn't stop fire. There was about 4 years ago. There was a pretty good sized fire at the state championship up there.
State Fair.
At the state fair.
Yep.
that was like a
a pretty
30-foot
good
fireball.
size
Yeah.
It was as
Big
high as
fireball.
It was as high as the stage that isn't there anymore next to the grandstand since it don't
Yeah.
exist.
Yep.
So
That Governor Cuomo took down.
It's a nice parking
I
lot
think
they have now.
if you could start really getting good tech, make sure and actually check.
And
fuel
sometimes
lines
guys
and
get
stuff.
get angry with us because we're like, you got to go tighten your tank or you got to tighten your
Yeah.
battery,
Yeah.
But that's listen, man, that's basic 101. I don't want, number one, that's an 80-pound battery. I don't need coming across the floor and smacking you in the shin and splitting it open
No.
or anything like that. Or the gas tank turning upside down.
Yeah.
And myself, I might be a little different, but I would prefer that guys not put a metal firewall over the top of the tank.
Yeah.
And my reasoning is,
Go on.
I want to
hear
see it leaking.
Yeah.
If that tank's leaking, I want to see it.
Yep.
I don't want a piece of tin.
But that was the rule. I mean, forever that was the
Yeah.
rule. You had to have the
But
fuel
what
tank
is that?
fire
What
to be
is
covered.
If my daughter's car caught fire in Honesdale, a bad fire,
Yeah.
and it was my fault, 100% my fault.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that saved her from really getting hurt was I had it inside of another tank. I didn't notice that it was that the seal had leaked. It was a pump tank, and the seal had dry rotted over the summer, and I never even looked at it.
Right.
So that was my fault. But if that hadn't been inside of a complete enclosed tank, I would have never seen it leaking. If it
Right.
never caught fire, I would have never seen it leaking. If a guy has got a piece of metal that fully encapsulates or encloses his back seat area where I can't see the connections, I can't see
Okay.
if a pump hose is leaking or a hose is cracked, or God forbid, everybody uses rubber hose. They get it underneath the metal and it slices the hose.
Yep.
Now you got a pump that's pouring gasoline on the floorboards, fills the floorboards up. The floorboards obviously lead to your feet, so now your feet are soaked in gas. And it goes up, it's not a good thing.
No.
Yeah. And for years, that's how he did it. I mean, I had the skin off an Imperial hood that I would put in the back and completely close in my tank and the whole back seat area. And same thing, it's good to go. Firemen love that. But looking back, that is pretty dumb because I mean, you never you would never know if there
Well,
was.
there's a lot of things that changed too. I mean, if you look at the quality of parts, even safety stuff.
Yeah.
You look at the quality of the tanks and stuff that people are buying and building and using now. It's been a long time since I noticed like an old snowmobile tank or anything like that, and really even the marine tanks you don't see very much anymore. Almost everybody.
But you know what though? I mean, back
it's
then
got a
that was the
decent
safest. Those marine tanks were one of the safest things you
Well,
could
that's
have.
it.
But
Or-
when in all defense, when we first started running, 5 to 7 psi was the typical motor ran off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got cars that are pushing 100 to 105 psi. The pumps, the gasoline that can be pushed in a minute is a tremendous amount different than what it used to be.
No doubt. I can remember. I remember a guy showing up. Sorry, Josh. Showing up to Waterloo, and he drove in there with remember the 5-gallon things of like hydraulic fluid you get for track. One of those, he'd taken one of those and had it standing up with just like a seatbelt or something over it, with a hose stuck in it with tape around it.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What? That's a good gas.
The placement of stuff inside the car. We saw Teej Reedness get hit hard and bounced around in the cockpit of his car in his compact, the Blizzard Bash, and the placement and how people are screwing stuff in, like where they're putting their batteries. And the inside of that car is wide open, but there's also a limited amount of space. And a lot of guys now, they're shoving everything up as close to the firewall as they can for added strength and rigidity. But there's been times where stuff's just kind of haphazardly thrown in the car. And you got your seatbelt on, but you can get rocked out of a stock seat pretty easy, and they're smashing their heads off tanks. Or, I remember being at home and a guy had mounted his gas tank to the floor, but he had about an extra 3 feet of all thread that was poked right at the back of the seat.
Yeah.
And they made him cut it off, and you didn't get why. It's like, because you're going to become a shish kebab. You're going to get skewered. Same thing with the helmets coming up. When you have the all thread that's so much higher than the battery box, or you're putting the coolers in the wrong places and stuff. You just got to be aware of what you're putting together inside the car.
Yeah, there's definitely times you look at a car, and I mean that's the thing. I don't inspect, but I mean I look at stuff, and some of the stuff you see are just like, how in the heck? I mean, I by no means a super builder, but there's just times I look and I'm like, we've been to derbies and seen people get hit and not hit all that hard, and batteries come flying loose, like you said. How would you? That's even if it's a light battery, it's 40 or 50 pounds. How would you not want that thing tightened right down? It blows your mind, but I don't know. It's definitely we've definitely come a long way, and there's definitely gains to be made. But something I wanted to ask both you guys, and I've been thinking about this too, is in the insurance for the shows. Does it, and hopefully there's no insurance agents listening, does it say like what type of helmet or like a specification on helmet drivers have to wear? Like, does it have to be, it's got to be a Snell 90 or Snell whatever it is approved, or does it just say they have to wear?
Yeah, what's the car crash rating on the helmets that insurance requires?
To my knowledge, there is none specified in my contracts, but it does
DOT
say
approved.
DOT approved.
Is what.
That's all it says.
So that would mean like the motocross helmets that we all wear. Are they DOT approved or no?
Some of them are. Some
are.
Of them
Yeah,
are
most
not.
of them are.
Yeah, I would recommend a lighter weight helmet. It doesn't create as much head snap.
Yeah,
I agree.
A lighter helmet that's DOT approved doesn't create as much head snap as
I
does
just
a
wondered.
heavier
I mean,
snowmobile helmet.
I didn't know, like, because
And a neck brace.
Yeah, I've never wore one of those, but
You don't have a neck. Ouch! Your head just kind of sits there.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. I just wondered, because I can't remember if it was a derby or if it was for racing, but I remember them. They were checking for like the Snell.
Yeah, a lot of your racetracks will check the latest Snell
uncommon.
ratings and that kind of stuff.
And you know what else I'd like to see in New York? And people will bitch and say, it's another expense. But I'd like to see at least to where drivers would have to wear like a zip up fireproof jacket.
Yeah, I wear them. I wear them, and for a while people were busting my nuts on
absolutely.
it. But you know what? Hey man, I only got to use it once.
Yeah, exactly. I used to wear, when I was more svelte, I had a welding pair of coveralls that somebody had got from a local place. And I did the same thing. I wore those, and I wore a pair of my brother's old driving gloves.
Yep.
Well, you can't believe you're doing that. Da 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 da. And I'm just like, okay, I'd rather not.
Watch some
There's
guys
been a
at
couple-
Blizzard Bash, man. They got catcher's shin guards on,
Oh,
and knee
yeah.
pads, and elbow pads, and protectors, and
Oh yeah, no doubt.
everything
I remember
else.
first time, a few
I
years
couldn't find
back,
the shin
first time
guards.
wearing them, I got the fire suit was a gift from my kids, and putting it on, and everybody's kind of looking at me like, yeah,
Mhm.
you know, and I don't know, it doesn't. It's hot days. I don't care, man. You know,
Yeah.
I'd rather be a little sweaty and then
Absolutely.
than cooked. Like I said, I've been real lucky on fires, and that's just because, you know, that's where I put my prep work. And
Yeah.
you know, through the years, I've always run mostly stock stuff,
Yeah.
and I didn't put a lot of work into builds, but I always double clamped everything. I always
Yep.
made sure that the tanks were
Safety.
tight, you know, and I used to power wash the engines, get all the oil and shit off them before, you know, and I think a lot of that stuff helped, you know.
Yep.
It
No
sure
doubt.
doesn't hurt. Sure doesn't hurt.
You probably wish you had a pair of shin guards on in your one derby, right,
would've.
Chris?
I would have been fine with a pair of shin guards.
We might have won if you had shin guards. I wouldn't have to stop for you.
You didn't stop for nothing. I was waving out that side window. The reason you stopped was like I'm waving those guys in. They broke the wheel off.
That's a possibility.
I keep giving thumbs up. I don't know why you keep giving me thumbs up. But
That Dana 60 didn't want to take no more. It gave up on me.
I'm not gonna lie. The first thing I heard was Chris was in a derby. I said he was. Yeah, he rode with Gulley in a truck. I said, why in God's name would he do
I
that?
tried to get Brian, but he wouldn't ride me either.
Ain't no way, no how, no.
Why?
We're coming to Jake's show to defend our title down there at Whitney Point. Different,
Oh, yeah.
different promoter, but we're gonna come down and
I'd like to see Double D's bring some pickups up to Waterloo. I'd like to see what one of the inside of one of them 1-ton vans look like up there. 'Cause I think on that track is just about long enough you could accomplish it.
yeah, I don't know. I have to talk to Georgie and Tony and maybe I can even coax Eric out of retirement. But
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd like to see you run the modified again also, but I think you ought to bring the crew up and I'd like to see a couple more
I
trucks.
imagine it won't be on my anniversary this year again.
No.
It'll be right around it, I imagine.
Yeah. Hey, your wife had a great anniversary last year. She went wine touring with the girls and
Yeah, we
had pizza afterwards.
We had 20. We had 20 before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Might have-
another one?
You know, what's another one? We'll have 20 after maybe.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a good time. I love
Well,
the
that's what's
show.
nice about what I think is happening locally anyway with the trucks is, you know, trucks are a pretty tight-knit group, or, you know, it's the same guys running trucks everywhere, and the rules, they're starting to look like they're starting to get the same all the way around.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, when I contacted Jeremy, we talked about trucks a little bit. It's like, you know, I'll just, you know, hopefully he'll, you know, help me out here and there when it comes to interpretation stuff, because I want to make sure that I'm reading the same, you know, lettering or whatever that his inspectors are reading, the same lettering, to make sure that we're all on the same page, and not just with him, with, you know, also with other promoters that are going to use those same type of rules. But like, somebody could come run my show, and his is 2 weeks later, take the same truck, add the fix it plates right to it, and run it there, and then, you know, take it to.
I believe
Honesdale
Brookfield's pretty much in line with our rules as well.
Yeah.
So you got Brookfield, you got Honesdale, you got Whitney Point. You know, guy could run a truck. I mean, Brookfield's got 2 shows. I've got 3, 4, 5 shows. Jake's got a show. I mean, you could run a truck 10 times in a year and be the same. It'd be awesome to be able to do that with the cars. You know, unfortunately, that you'd have to build a pretty hard car to do that. But you know, most of the guys in our area aren't into the Blizzard Bash style build. So we'll probably stay with the economy cars and the limited weld trucks, and we are going to pepper in some limited weld cars in our shows this year. And like I say, hopefully those guys will be able to run a couple different shows, a couple different places.
What kind of turnout do you have at your shows for the limited weld? I mean, what is it, a decent car count? I mean,
I think we had like the high car count this year was like 13. I think that was at Morris. The low car count, I think, was 6 for the limited weld cars. There's just not that many guys that are stepping up to that class. We do got a bunch of young kids though coming around that have expressed interest in at least building one.
that's cool.
You know, building a couple economy cars and building one mod car to be able to run all over the place with. So we'll see. We'll see what happens at the end of the day. You know?
Now you have the economy class, and then you have your is it a mod or is it a limited weld? Your next class above that for cars.
We only have a limited weld V8. We don't have a limited weld V8 or compact. It's economy V8, economy compact, and then a limited weld.
Okay, what would you compare, like locally? So like guys from different areas might like. What would you compare your limited weld rules to? I mean, could you run your modified that you ran at Waterloo, or was that you could run that?
I could almost run it. I think with a few changes, I could have run my Seneca car, but not 100% for certain without going back over it.
All right,
but. It is 7:01, and I believe the team show's been open for a minute. I don't have any.
Chris, is anybody on the team show yet?
Hey, James.
But
yeah, you look at
This is Chris.
your limited weld class. There was some cars that went to
Are you pretty much good to go? Do you feel comfortable?
that mod class or whatever that was up here in Waterloo that also ran the other cars. Like I think Pete's Wagon was one. There was a couple others I think that I seen throughout the
Pete's
year.
Wagon. Pete's Wagon was actually underbuilt when he came to Seneca to my rules. So I think with a few tweaks,
About all right though.
with a few tweaks, If I hadn't broke Pete's steering, it probably would have been a little different. But that's what happens when you get in front of a train. Get out of the way, buddy. I'm gonna get broke. I love you, Pete. But it's definitely a heavier build. The Williams boys, I can't say enough about them. They were, two young kids that just like to make junk, and they don't care if it's themselves. Remind me of myself, 25 years ago. But the Williams boys were at almost every show last year.
Cool.
And they did some awesome stuff with their limited weld cars too. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, like I touched on it. The guys that ran that we called it a mod show up here last year. For all but I think you, Pete, and Matt obviously had built those style cars before. But I mean, I gave a huge thumbs up to the local guys that tried it. I mean, they never done it before, and they went out and ran, and they did decent. Obviously there's a learning curve. A few of them got the cars put back together and ran Paradise in the year, which they made improvement. But I would hope that maybe those guys, maybe they'd travel a little farther. Because, I mean, they still have those cars. I know most of those guys still have the cars.
Well,
so, maybe
one thing, that I'd like, really, I do like, I heard some grumbling about our cars, but, we were within the rules.
Yep.
One thing that don't be discouraged.
Oh, absolutely.
You ran against, two of the best drivers in the Northeast, and Pete and Matt Gaskin. They're phenomenal drivers and builders. I was just kind of there. But,
whatever.
Some of those guys, it's a trial and error. They got to learn how to use. It's a puzzle, and you got to know how to put the puzzle together. You don't just because you go out and buy an engine protector doesn't mean you're going to last forever.
Yeah,
you have to understand the mechanics behind utilizing that and utilizing a lot of other things that go along with that to make everything fit together.
Yeah.
Keep trying, trial and error. The more shows you run, the more cars you build, the better you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just the way. I lost against Jamie Bolt and Brad Tice, the first kicker car I ever built. I lost to them two. I wasn't really disappointed.
No, not at all.
I mean, I was super happy that I made it to third.
Yeah.
So don't give up, guys. Just keep plugging away and get after it.
Absolutely.
Get building.
Yep.
So, in honor, this will be the last crash course that we have before Christmas. We have Cadence Steinbeck. Can you hear us okay, Cadence?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We have Cadence on the line. And Cadence is Will Steinbeck's daughter. Will, we talked to him a couple times in and around the Geneva show that we were talking about going out to. And for a school project, they had to write a poem that mimicked The Night Before Christmas. And she took it and made it all about Demolition Derby. The whole thing front to back. So in honor of Christmas, we got a hold of Will told me about it, and Cadence was willing to come on and share it with us, and I missed it at the beginning of the show, but thankfully he was on the ball, and we got Cadence on to share this with us. I'm looking forward to it. Cadence, take it away.
All right. 'Twas the night before the Derby, and all through the town not a driver was resting with all the welds to grind down. The drivers and pitmen working and missing their beds, while visions of collisions dance through their heads. All of the spectators asleep through the night, their heads rest on pillows so restful and white. The old iron wagon of my very own choosing, so welded and strong, there is just no refusing. The evening was spent preparing for the season. To win the hometown derby made another fine reason. Finishing the paint job so flawless and bright, with all of the small stuff keeping me busy into the night. With a flip of a switch, I push a button, and to my delight, the engine fires up and she sounds just right. And when it came time, the derby was there. We unloaded the car without even a scare. Into the arena, we sped awaiting the green flag. Nervous we are not, we don't like to brag. Beginning to destroy the car, so streamlined and fine, we challenge all others who dare walk the line. When the dust settles, we prevailed on our heat. Cars in great shape, just fenders to beat. Just as I wished, walking through the pain, I drove like crazy all through the main. The car bent so bad, it's getting hard to see. As they wave the checkered flag, amazing, the winner is me. Oh man, we had a ball, no reason to fight. Happy derby to all, and to all a good night.
That was
Nice.
awesome.
Pretty cool.
That was awesome.
Some English teacher had to grade that.
Yeah.
She's going to be like, what in God's name are they talking about?
Just give that girl 100. That's awesome.
Yep.
Good for
It
you.
was fantastic. How did you make out on the project?
I don't know, she hasn't graded it yet.
No.
Well, you tell her that if she doesn't give you 100, she's lost her mind.
Tell her to call me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you tell her to call Chris Marquardt. He'll straighten it out.
You're going to be...
What's your Twitter feed?
But that was awesome. They sent that to me last week, and I wanted to make sure we got that on there. Tomorrow, Cadence, when the show's over, I'll send a link of this to your dad. If you want to show your teacher reading that on the air, it's going to be right about the 58-minute mark.
All right.
And
Great
if she
job.
doesn't give you at least extra credit for that, then definitely give our number to her.
Okay.
Did a fantastic job. Thanks for coming on and sharing that. That was great.
Yep, thank you.
Take care.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Okay, bye.
I
How
love
old is
seeing
she?
when the kids get involved. They're
13.
13, nice.
That's awesome.
Good, right?
Yeah, that's very cool. Very
That's
cool.
something that we want to focus on. Is I don't know exactly how and what we're going to do yet, but we want to set up in the vendor area. We want to set up because when I go and I take my kids, they don't really care about tranny protectors and new spindles or whatever. So I'd like to set up an area where we can have like derby themed children's games.
Yeah,
a little
that's
carnival area. Where
Yep.
just goofy stuff.
Is that where you're going to set Jason Sauer up so he can spray paint all their Power Wheels on the way through? And
You know what? I know that he's been real busy lately. I haven't asked him to come up. I'm hoping he will.
because I'm pretty sure that if you told him that you wanted him to get like an F-150 hood and rattle can it that day so that they could do beanbag tosses, I bet
Yeah.
he would be just fine with it.
Oh yeah, I bet.
That'd be cool.
But I picked up a 75 two-door driver caddy, so I'm thinking about if I can get him up this way, or next time he's going to be up this way, having him rattle that up, and I'll use that as my driver around town.
Anymore. I get you a couple Toyota Centras or something. We'll trade
He
you up for that.
even don't run full. He won Norwich in a full size last year.
Oh,
Yeah, I run,
Front wheel drive V8, wasn't it?
Yeah. Middletown I won, but I was in
2
a
years
compact. Yeah, it was a while ago, wasn't
And that was in a W body.
it? Yeah, I run the night before, and
Yep, night before you ran your wire
Double.
class car.
it was a metric.
Wasn't your
GM.
wire class car from Bash?
No, I never run that again. I cut that up and sent it.
That's the best thing to do with that turd.
Cut
Cut that thing into pieces.
Yeah, I'd like to run that again. It wasn't too bad.
No one knew what they were looking at.
Oh, it was pretty interesting. People were coming by and they're like, "What kind of car is that?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? It's a freaking 70. What was it?
76 456 Cutlass, wasn't it?
Yeah, 76
Four-door.
Cutlass." And I'm like, "Those are out here. Those are popular. At least I grew up in Walton, man.
Walton.
Everybody loves them.
Walton has
Them and Dovas.
Yeah.
Everybody loves them there. I don't know why, but I've run a ton of them through the years, and I've always had
It looked kind of like a Malibu, but it wasn't, and it looked kind of like a Le Mans.
It's really
but
the
it
same.
wasn't.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Same frame.
I mean, they've been a little bit different than the Monties. The Monties been a little bit different, but they're predictable if anything else.
Chuck Chapman used to run them all the time.
Yeah.
That was my first car. 73 Chevelle Malibu.
But I think Ed might be coming up with the hopefully with some RC cars and that kind of stuff for the kids. And
Cool.
I don't know exactly what yet, but like I said, whether it's going to be like a little bumper drag and then maybe throw some trim rings over some pair of headers, or just something for mom and dad can kind of drop the kids off and let them play and do their thing. And one of my sponsors, Josh Schwartz of Bainbridge Auto Center, his wife is a teacher. So I think maybe she might want to take that on and
that's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Spend the day with the kids and teach them some derby stuff and
That's cool.
Go from there, see what happens. So
You know what else is real popular is
the piston ring ball pit.
No.
Oh.
The demolition derby coloring books. Like we've
yes.
seen them at
they were
Blizzard
great.
Wise Media.
Wise
Guys.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Wise Guys did that, but I know that
It's the guys that did the Blizzard Bash DVD.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same group.
Yes.
Did you get your copy yet? Sorry. Yeah, I know that's really popular. They usually run out of those pretty quick. The kids really like those.
Those go fast.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah,
time.
they had like a little contest and stuff, and it was just for fun and to give them something to do. Especially the guys that get there early. Was another thing I was looking at is anybody that comes through tech by noon and it comes in through tech and then cars in quarantine by noon. We're going to do something either like a lunch or something like that to take care of the guys that got there early and now they got to sit and wait for the show, to give them something to do. But this will give the kids something to do. You drag them all over to these things and they'd sit in the pits or sitting in the stands for hours at an end. Give them something to do and hopefully let the parents kind of dad or mom take care of they need to take care of and give everybody a little something.
Absolutely. Maybe Chris Marcock would go down there and work with them.
What?
Kids.
Yeah, you could do that. You could
Why not?
definitely get in the coloring contest.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I'm all
You got to
about
stay in
it.
the lines, though.
I'm good. What?
You got to stay in the lines.
Stay in the lines. There's a lot of pressure with that. It's a lot of pressure.
I know.
That's-
You're an outside the lines kind of guy.
You could take like
A lot of artists made a lot of money being out of the line. So
you could take some reckless abandoned hats down there and teach the kids how to properly get them fitted to have the Chris Marquardt look.
It's easy. Take it, fold the brim in half, stand out on the ground for 10 minutes. Done.
Yeah, like the dust and the swat marks. I mean, you could throw it in mud puddles and stuff, and I mean you could get.
Or just let it fly out the window at 81.
I never laughed so hard in my life. And I didn't know why we started laughing, but man, I really thought I was going to pass out. I was laughing so hard. I
Yeah,
didn't let
you
off the
almost
gas.
you almost drove off the road.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Howling. That was the original hat too. I was
That
bummed.
was the
I was
original.
bummed to lose that. Yep. We were telling a story. We were telling one of our Blizzard Bash stories.
Just you and I.
And I was
Go to
illustrating.
Bash
I was
for
illustrating
Cash.
how the gentleman tried to take my hat that way, and I knocked it out of his hands real quick. And when I accidentally hit it, and it slid across the dash, and the suction of the wind took it right out the window.
It was a lot funnier when we were running 85 down the interstate.
Yes.
Oh, that was a good time.
The actual story was probably
Guess
helping
you
make it
had to
funny.
be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I don't know, 85 in Ohio, man. You're looking for trouble.
Yeah. I was just keeping up with traffic.
Yeah.
Just keeping up with traffic.
Yep. We had to. It was required.
It was fun. So what do you think, Chris Marquardt?
I think we covered a lot tonight.
So did I hear you say we're not going to do a show on Christmas night?
No, we're not doing one on Christmas night.
I was just
No, you're
checking.
out of your mind. I don't know what night we're gonna squeeze something in that week somehow. We might.
Are we going to have one before
Well, before what?
before the New Year's show?
Yeah, all the awards are here. I got those. Those came. Those are all in.
That was a good meeting we had electing those awards, man. I'm glad I could be part of that and help you out again.
No problem.
I was
Happy to
involved in
help.
the process. You weren't?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think it was pretty sure it was him and Josh.
Nope.
No, he called me about it. I don't know why you didn't get there.
I don't remember calling you about it.
Nobody likes I'm just when you give me
I was having a hard time. It
when you
was
give
hard
me
to
the
shoot.
Driver of the Year award, I will act surprised.
You have to run more than one show a year.
I'm batting 1,000% right now. There's not a lot of guys that can
Just
say that.
stop right there. Just
1,000% right
stop.
here.
It is not 1,000%. It's well, kind of. And Rob Van Dam wants his thing back. His little thumb deal there.
Oh,
We're done
goodness.
here. Everybody have.
be a good
Don't make it
time,
December
though.
26th to 27th. I got stuff to do.
I got stuff the 28th, and then we're going to be backed up right on top of New Year's. So I don't know. We'll figure something out. We might even go during the day.
I may be able to do it from remote. Go Go up on top of the hill. And,
We'll just go to your house, wherever you're at. We'll just go there.
okay.
All right.
We'll just set up wherever you're at.
I know where he's going to be.
Yeah, he
You'll be
does.
hunting in Pennsylvania, right?
Sure does.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, for everybody here, we appreciate all the support that we had through the course of the year. We wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and that is going to do it for episode number 210 in the books. We're going to be back with you next week at some point. It's going to be tough to schedule it in, but we will find a way. So we're looking forward to catching up with everybody next week as we lead into the final run-up to the annual New Year's Eve party. Spinning Wheels giving us the Crown Vic and the Tahoe that are going to be raffled off, the Camry coming from Road Ridge Entertainment. We greatly appreciate that. And, of course, Aaron Bunt still has tickets available for the 75 Cadillac Fleetwood Talisman that's being raffled off on New Year's Eve night as well. You do not have to be present to win. Jump on shop.smashedempire.com for additional details. Type in New Year's. It'll bring up ticketing. It'll bring up raffles. It'll bring up all that stuff. It'll all be there. Once again, for everybody that was here and part of episode number 210, we appreciate Cadence coming on and sharing her Demolition Derby theme poem, emulating Night Before Christmas. That was fantastic. Everybody, have a great holiday. We'll see everybody back here again next week here at the home of Finger Lakes 1 at the North Park building here at Academy Square, Cuga Street in downtown Seneca Falls. See you next time.
The Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.